It was 8:15 p.m. time. The night sky was clear. There wasn't a single cloud. In a small apartment in a distant city lived a young astronomer named John. He was in his 30s and had a passion for the stars. He spent most of his nights gazing at the stars from his rooftop. Tonight was no different. But tonight, there was a worried frown on his face. He peered through his telescope and muttered to himself, this is impossible. His phone rang. On the screen was the name of his mentor, Dr. Elizabeth Kane. She was a renowned solar physicist. John answered, "Hello, Dr. Kane. John, have you seen the data? The intensity of the solar flare is increasing abnormally. This could be stronger than the Carrington event," she said anxiously. John looked at his laptop screen. "Yes, I just saw it.
Ow!
But its trajectory. It's heading directly towards us. John, we have very little time. If this hits, the global power and communication systems will collapse," said Dr. Kane. "I know. I'm looking for a solution," replied John. He thought for a moment. "Doctor, I remember an old communication system that might just survive this kind of EMP. An electromagnetic pulse. A strong enough EMP could wipe out all electronics in the world. Would that system still work?" Dr. Kane sounded doubtful. "What old system?" "John, don't waste time. We need to prepare." But Dr. John insisted. "This might be our last chance." "All right, John, I'll trust you. Keep me updated," said Dr. Cohn. John quickly packed a bag. He grabbed a satellite phone, some food, water, flashlights, first aid kit, and a pen drive containing his crucial research data. Elizabeth's frantic voice came from the phone. "John, where are you going?" "I'm sorry, doctor, but I have to go." "Explain later," he said. He left the house and raced towards the old radio telescope station on the outskirts of the city. It was an abandoned relic from the Cold War era. Overgrown with weeds and covered in dust, he entered the building and began to climb the stairs. Meanwhile, at NASA, the atmosphere in the control room was tense. A massive screen displayed a terrifying image of the sun. The solar storm was getting bigger by the second. Dr. Lee, the chief scientist at NASA, stared at the monitor. Sweat was beading on his forehead. He turned to his team. According to the reports, the solar storm could hit Earth within the next 20 minutes. "Its intensity is beyond anything we've imagined," a young scientist asked in a panicked voice. "Our satellites. Most satellites in the storm's path will be destroyed." "The global communication system is over," said Dr. Lee. Silence descended upon the control room. The scientists were stunned. They had never seen anything like this before. John arrived at the abandoned control room. The place looked like a museum of obsolete technology. He put down his bag and began to examine the old computers and generator. He had only one shot at this. If this didn't work, the entire world would be plunged into chaos. He connected the generator to the computers and started it. It sputtered and coughed, but it didn't turn on. He tried again. After several attempts, the generator suddenly burst to life, but not without emitting thick clouds of smoke. John's heart skipped a beat. He raced towards the computers. He turned on the monitor. It flickered to life, displaying an old operating system. He quickly connected the antenna and set it to transmit on a frequency that Dr. Kane would be monitoring. At NASA, the scientists were watching the clock. In 10 minutes, the solar storm would make impact. Dr. Lee said, "Only 10 minutes left. We couldn't do anything." "I'm sorry, team." His voice shook. The scientists looked at the monitors in front of them. All they could see was static. Suddenly, a faint signal appeared on one of the old monitors. "What's that?" someone asked. The signal was too weak to decipher. But Dr. Lee knew what it was. He said, "That's the signal from the old radio telescope. Someone is trying to contact us." The scientists stared at the screen in disbelief. Was it a miracle or just a coincidence? In the abandoned control room, John waited anxiously. He had sent the message. Now he could only hope that Dr. Kane received it. On the monitor, the signal grew stronger. Dr. Lee motioned for everyone to gather around. "This is an old analog frequency. Shouldn't be broadcasting anything," said a technician. Then it hit him. It's coming from the old transmitter at the telescope. "The one that wasn't supposed to be working," he exclaimed. The scientists looked at Dr. Lee, their faces pale. They understood what was happening. In the abandoned control room, John watched the time on his laptop. It was 8:50 p.m. in 10 minutes. The solar storm would make landfall. He dialed Dr. Kane's number. The line was dead. He tried again. Still nothing. He slumped down in his chair. Maybe he was too late. Maybe the storm had already knocked out communications. Suddenly, the silence was broken by the sound of footsteps. John jumped up and turned around. Dr. Kane stood in the doorway, her face etched with worry. "John, I received your message," she said. "I didn't think anyone was there." "Doctor, I tried calling you back, but the line was dead," John replied. Elizabeth stepped inside and looked around. "You really think this will work?" "I don't know, Doctor. Really don't know," he said, his voice heavy with uncertainty. Elizabeth nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "Let's hope it does," she whispered. The scientists at NASA watched as the clock ticked away the final minutes. The solar storm was almost upon them. Then, just when all hope seemed to be lost, a miracle happened. A faint signal appeared on the screens, the signal from the old radio telescope. It was weak, but it was there. Dr. Lee felt a surge of hope. He motioned for everyone to lean in closer. The signal was barely perceptible, but it was undoubtedly a message. With trembling hands, a technician adjusted the dials on the receiver, trying to make the signal stronger. The scientists held their breath, their eyes glued to the screen. Finally, the message came through. The words were simple. "Earth, can you hear me?" A wave of relief washed over the scientists. They had received the message. In a world plunged into darkness, a glimmer of hope had appeared. John and Dr. Kane looked at each other, a sense of relief washing over them. They had done it. They had managed to establish contact. But they knew that this was just the beginning. The real challenge was now starting. The end.